Hello, I'm David Bertolini, Dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. On behalf of my faculty and myself, I want to congratulate all of our students today. It's a remarkable achievement that you have demonstrated rigor and excellence and earned a degree. I could not be more proud of each of you. It's a challenging time that we're facing and to graduate into, but I'm confident that each of you are going to do amazing things. We're counting on you. So I thank you for that. Mr. President, it is my pleasure to present to you the degree candidates from the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. Thank you.
Tony Albright, Doctor of Philosophy. Lana Alamadi, Bachelor of Science. Kate Allen, Master of Music. Caleb Anderson, Bachelor of Science. Andrew Anyago, Bachelor of University Studies. Anne Argenziano, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Nicholas Armstrong, Bachelor of Science. Thomas Aspeland, Master of Architecture. Musab Atelmanan, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Layla Bakir, Bachelor of Science. Brooklyn Bangasser, Bachelor of Science. Tanya Barnes, Master of Music. Alexander Barta, Bachelor of Music. Hallie Bartlett, Bachelor of Science. Elvedina Basic, Master of Science. Michaelin Belgard, Bachelor of Science. Bridget Burgeon, Bachelor of University Studies. Miranda Burnt, Master of Arts. Taylor Best, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Mary Biegert, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Amanda Bierman, Bachelor of Science. Joshua Biles, Master of Music. Alexander Blomstrand, Bachelor of University Studies. Linda Boateng, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Chase Bode, Bachelor of Science. Melissa Boyd, Bachelor of Science. Jenna Bordwell, Master of Architecture. Rachel Borgert, Bachelor of Science. Brandon Borstead, Bachelor of Science. Laura Ellen Branjord, Bachelor of Arts. Travis Brend, Master of Architecture. Josh Brinkman, Bachelor of Science. Troy Brown, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Jackson Brown, Bachelor of Science. Douglas Brown Jr., Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Hannah Buchiger, Bachelor of Science. Alexander Bumgardner, Bachelor of Science. Chase Burkhart, Master of Music. Michaela Burns, Bachelor of Fine Arts. Alec Burnside II, Bachelor of Science. Bailey Bushke, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Lindsay Campbell, Master of Arts. Catherine Karstensen Zerbst, Master of Music. Brennan Chase, Bachelor of Science. Jade Chaston, Bachelor of Science. Liz Cayley, Master of Science. Calden Chosang, Bachelor of Science. Zach Christensen, Bachelor of Fine Arts. Emmy Christensen, Bachelor of Science. Bailey Cochran, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Kayla Conan, Bachelor of Arts. Maria Contreras, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Emily Cox, Bachelor of Science. Jabril Cox, Bachelor of University Studies. Laura Crago, Master of Architecture. Devin Crow, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Michaela Cutler, Bachelor of Science. Anna Danielson, Master of Architecture. Kelsey Darwin, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Thomas Davey, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Lorenzo De La Riva, Bachelor of University Studies. Zachariah Dietz, Bachelor of Science. Chandler Dick, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. John DiGiorno, Master of Architecture. Eric Dill, Bachelor of Science. Isaac Dienison, Bachelor of Science. Benjamin Jerf, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Adam Dooley, Bachelor of Science. Amy Dukeshire, Doctor of Philosophy. Cale Dunwoody, Bachelor of Science. Callie Eberling, Master of Arts. Aaron Elis, Bachelor of Music. Ajang Akindi, Bachelor of Science. Nicholas Emanuel, Bachelor of Science. Stephanie Erickson, Bachelor of Science. Ryan Erickson, Bachelor of Science. Kai Erickson, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Rafi Ferreira, Bachelor of Fine Arts. Leah Fisher, Bachelor of Science. Alexandra Fisher, Bachelor of Science. Isaac Flynn, Bachelor of Science. Andrew Fogarty, Bachelor of Science. Taylor Ford, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Emily Ford, Bachelor of Science. William Franklin, Bachelor of Science. Ashlyn French, Master of Landscape Architecture. Alexandra Frosley, Master of Arts. Grizel Gallo, Bachelor of Science. Sydney Garcia, Master of Architecture. Ami Gatawa, Bachelor of Science. Melissa Gavaretsky, Bachelor of Science. Tyler Geffro, Master of Architecture. Rachel German, Bachelor of Science. Jeff Gimbel, Bachelor of Science. Shane Gomes, Doctor of Philosophy. Samuel Goodman, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Caitlin Gruby, Master of Arts. Benjamin Gutowski, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Mariah Haberly, Bachelor of Science. Michaela Hackbarth, Bachelor of Science. Deborah Haley, Master of Arts. Paige Hall, Bachelor of Science. Noah Hansen, Bachelor of Science. Alexandra Hansen, Bachelor of Arts. Robert Hardin, Bachelor of Science. Tanner Haar, Bachelor of Science. Jessica Harder, Master of Architecture. Amanda Havan, Bachelor of University Studies. Emma Hawley, Bachelor of University Studies. Shane Hawley, Master of Architecture. Sarah Hazlett, Master of Architecture. Matthew Hedin, Bachelor of Arts. Gareth Heinz, Bachelor of Science. Sawyer Heller, Bachelor of Science. Jade Hepper, Bachelor of Science. Ryan Herbst, Bachelor of Science. Alexandra Hermanson, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Faith Hicks, Bachelor of Science. Fallon Hill, Bachelor of University Studies. Amanda Hill, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Haley Holsworth, Master of Architecture. Michael Hondlick, Bachelor of Science. Emily Hopfoff, Bachelor of Science. Victoria Hoplin, Master of Music. Nathaniel Horvath, Master of Landscape Architecture. Keegan Hovel, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Elise Huber, Bachelor of University Studies. Brandon Hyatt, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Hyun In, Bachelor of Fine Arts. Blaze Irwin, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Brian Jackson, Bachelor of Science. Mal Jason, Doctor of Philosophy. Tyler Jensen, Bachelor of Science. Cooper Johnson, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Casey Johnson, Master of Arts. Helen Johnson, Master of Architecture. Alicia Johnson, Bachelor of Science. Matthew Keller, Bachelor of Science. Milena Kelm, Bachelor of Science. Sam Kerfeld, Bachelor of Science. Mariah Kiefer, Bachelor of Science. Veronica Kingston, Master of Architecture. Samantha Kesey, Master of Arts. Kristen Knudsen, Bachelor of Science. Matthew Cole, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Christopher Colgraf, Master of Architecture. Jared Kramer, Master of Architecture. Krista Krantz, Bachelor of Science. Nathan Krepp, Bachelor of University Studies. Alex Krebs, Bachelor of Science. Amy Kronbeck, Bachelor of Science. Lucas Kubik, Bachelor of Science. Benjamin Kumpula, Master of Landscape Architecture. Zach Kuntz, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Rita Kuttner, Bachelor of Science. Alexandra Lacombe, Bachelor of Science. Sophia Lemire, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Deanna Lamont, Bachelor of Science. Cody Larson, Bachelor of Science. Megan Larson, Bachelor of Science. Matthew Leek, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Alexandra Laban, Bachelor of Science. Aaron Leese, Bachelor of Science. Anna Lem, Bachelor of Science. Sijia Lee, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Daniel Lindsay, Master of Science. Casey Lind, Bachelor of Science. Brenna Logie, Bachelor of Science. Madison Long, Bachelor of Science. Ryan Longnecker, Bachelor of Science. Holger Lohr, Bachelor of Science. Gabrielle Luoma, Bachelor of Science. Amy Lushin, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Olivia Mack, Master of Architecture. Margaret Madsen, Bachelor of Science. David Maffo, Bachelor of Science. Catherine Manstrom, Bachelor of Science. Simon Marinov, Bachelor of Science. Daniel Marceau, Master of Architecture. Alex Mason, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Carly Matichek, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Peter Mayerchak, Bachelor of Science. Ethan McCullough, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Pamela McKinnon, Bachelor of Science. Tyler McNutt, Master of Architecture. Connor McWhinney, Bachelor of Science. Noah Meyer, Master of Architecture. Mitchell Meyer, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Grant Menden, Master of Architecture. Christina Meyer, Master of Architecture. Sean Meyer, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Mark Michelson, Bachelor of Science. Macy Miller, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Jacob Miller, Bachelor of Science. Gavin Mint, Bachelor of Science. Morgan Minette, Bachelor of Science. Samantha Miranda, Bachelor of Science. Matthew Moberg, Bachelor of Science. Mercedes Moen, Bachelor of Science. Madison Murchie, Bachelor of Science. Rachel Murphy, Bachelor of Science. Jordan Murphy, Bachelor of University Studies. Mitch Musel, Master of Architecture. Jennifer Nagel, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Anna Nelson, Bachelor of Science. Bradley Nelson, Master of Architecture. Jordan Nelson, Bachelor of Science. Neen Wynn, Bachelor of Science. Cole Nichols, Bachelor of Science. Alexandra Nellis, Bachelor of Science. Nicholas Navad, Bachelor of Science. Bo Norby, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Samantha Ox, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Chelsea Olmsted, Master of Arts. Paige Omberg, Master of Architecture. Alexandra O'Reilly, Bachelor of Arts. Alexander Ormsby, Master of Architecture. Carter Oster, Bachelor of Science. Michael Atomo, Bachelor of University Studies. Bruno Pereja Lozano, Bachelor of Science. Patrick Pashal, Bachelor of University Studies. Krista Paulus, Bachelor of Science. Lydia Peck, Bachelor of Science. Annika Peterson, Bachelor of Science. Adam Peretz, Bachelor of Science. Peace Peter, Bachelor of Science. Kaylee Pierce, Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Landscape Architecture. Isaac Pladsen, Bachelor of Science. Carissa Plooster, Bachelor of Science. Patrick Pochamp, Bachelor of Science. Lindsay Poliot, Bachelor of Science. Laura Powell, Bachelor of Science. Emily Quist, Bachelor of Science. Kira Rayshak, Master of Architecture. Mason Rademacher, Bachelor of Science. Lavanya Ramakrishnan, Master of Science. Zoe Randazzo, Master of Architecture. Philip Rhyme, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Olivia Reimer, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Aaron Renner, Bachelor of Arts. Mitchell Reith, Bachelor of Fine Arts. Connor Riley, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Jaden Rasovi, Bachelor of Science. Chloe Robinson, Doctor of Philosophy. Ellie Mae Rodriguez Mujica, Bachelor of Science. Catherine Rolfe, Doctor of Musical Arts. John Rudolph, Master of Music. Michael Russell, Bachelor of Science. Parker Salentine, Bachelor of Science. Luke Sanders, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Majalisa Sarkar, Bachelor of Arts. Stephen Shalau, Bachelor of Science. Wyatt Shirrick, Bachelor of Science. Austin Schmidt, Master of Landscape Architecture. Trey Schmidt, Bachelor of Science. Alexander Schmidt, Bachelor of Science. Taylor Schmidt, Bachelor of Science. Samantha Schrader, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Carson Schramm, Bachelor of Science. Mitchell Schulzettenberg, Master of Architecture. Margaret Scullin, Bachelor of Science. Callie Semmelroth, Bachelor of Science. Hajime Shibuya, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Halima Shatu, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Jonathan Sidmore, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Gunnar Siebenaler, Bachelor of Science. Oliver Sime, Bachelor of Science. Courtney Scare, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Michaela Smija, Master of Architecture. Alina Smith, Bachelor of Science. George Smith, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Emerson Solomsauce, Bachelor of Science. Alexander Summers, Bachelor of Music. Madeline Solik, Bachelor of Science. Taylor Spreeman, Bachelor of Science. Paige Stark, Master of Science. Brad Stockert, Master of Music. Hannah Stout, Bachelor of Science. Ryan Stover, Bachelor of Science. John Stroh, Bachelor of Science. Anna Stroh, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Grace Sundberg, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Cameron Sikora, Bachelor of University Studies. Aaron Tamio, Bachelor of Science. Julia Taylor, Bachelor of Science. Augustina Tuber, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Rachel Thiessen, Bachelor of Science. Ashley Thompson, Bachelor of Science. Britton Thompson, Bachelor of Science. Cole Thompson, Bachelor of Science. Gwendolyn Toy, Bachelor of Science. Justin Todd, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Isabel Toddy, Bachelor of Arts. Tristan Toth, Bachelor of Science. Joshua Trojan, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Marie Tucker, Master of Architecture. Arthur Turner, Bachelor of University Studies. Andrew Ulrich, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Zachary Unruh, Bachelor of Science. Sydney Valaquay, Bachelor of Science. Rosalind Vandenbosch, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Huichi Wang, Master of Architecture. McKenna Vetter, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Guillaume Vialt, Bachelor of University Studies. Dane Vonasek, Master of Architecture. Jordan Wagner, Bachelor of Science. Austin Walliser, Bachelor of University Studies. Abigail Walker, Bachelor of Fine Arts. Charles Wallace, Bachelor of Science. Elias Walski, Bachelor of Science. Nicole Walter, Bachelor of Science. Nathan Warner, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Elise Ware, Master of Music. Colby Warzeka, Bachelor of Science. Eric Wares, Bachelor of Fine Arts. Nathan Watrowski, Bachelor of Science. Charles Widner, Bachelor of Science. Grant Willard, Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Ivan Wagner, Bachelor of Arts. Gabrielle Wolf, Bachelor of Science. Carson Woronicki, Bachelor of Science. Jamer Yagi, Bachelor of Science. Alicia Yoakum, Master of Landscape Architecture. Monica Zatera, Bachelor of Science.